Hello and good morning. This is video take 4. So hopefully this one's gonna work out. So I'm gonna start out with some colors. So if you have access to colors, then grab some because it's gonna be helpful. I've got green, blue, purple, and red. You can use any 4 colors, it doesn't really matter. But those are the ones I chose. And of course, something else to write with. So we're doing this Hunger Games activity. It is in your workbook on pages 63 to 67, okay? And we're on page 63 in your book right now. Okay, so let's read together first, and then let's analyze this graph and table together. So first it says food chains within an ecosystem have several trophic levels that allow for energy to flow and matter to cycle. Trophic levels include producers, which are made up of autotrophs, and primary consumers, secondary consumers, and tertiary consumers, which are heterotrophs. So remember yesterday we were talking about how trophic means eating, like troph means to eat. So trophic levels have to do with levels of eating, like your level on the food chain. There's a couple of vocab words here. We have autotrophs. So auto means self, right? And troph means eat. So basically this means that they make their own food. So here we make our own food. And then heterotrophs, hetero means other, right? Troph means eat. So these eat others. That's what heterotrophs do. They have to eat other living things in order to survive, right? Okay, so now let's look at our directions. So the directions say, part 1, analyze the food web and data table below. Create a biomass pyramid and calculate the proportion of biomass for each trophic level in the food chain. In your biomass pyramid, you must indicate which organisms are found at each trophic level and their combined biomass proportion. Okay, so we're going to start with this part. That was like a lot of instructions. We're going to start with just this part. But we know that we're going to need to figure out some proportions and stuff. So we were looking at different trophic levels. So we're really going to look at this food web in terms of the trophic levels. So first, if we just look at the food web, let's remind ourselves and remember how food webs work, okay? So first of all, we've got this first trophic level, right? So we can see that we have things that are not eating anything. How do we know they're not eating anything? Because there's no arrows pointing towards them. There's only arrows pointing away from them. So the arrow always points in the direction of the energy flow and the direction of the eating. So this creature, which is a Roman numeral number 6 creature, okay, so it could be a mouse, it could be a grasshopper, we don't know what it is, but this is a creature that eats, and it eats this creature, right? So this creature right here eats 3. We know that because there's an arrow pointing from 3 to 6, okay? There's also an arrow pointing from 2 to 6. So this number 6 creature eats number 2 and number 3. Notice there's no arrows pointing to 1, 2, and 3. So we know that they don't eat anything, and therefore we know they're producers, right? And so let's just kind of remind ourselves they're producers by marking them green on here. We're just gonna kind of box them up, color them green. Okay, here's our producers that don't eat anything, but get eaten here. Okay, and that's organism 1, 2, and 3. So let's go to our table and just color our table in, like this section of the table that has 1, 2, and 3 in it. Let's color that in green to remind us that these are our producers. And actually, I'm even gonna label it over here, producers. Okay, all right, cool. So here's our producers getting eaten by these herbivores, right? And we know that that level is the primary consumer. Primary consumers are the herbivores, right? So let's take our primary consumers that are right here and color those in blue. So here's my primary consumers in this section of my food web, right? And we can see that they're all only eating plants, right? So that's number 4, 5, and 6. So 4, 5, and 6 over here, I'm going to color in blue this section of my table to remind myself that these are my primary consumers. And I'm going to label that over here. I'm going to use the shorthand for primary, which is 1 and a degree sign, primary consumers. Okay. Then we have our secondary consumers that eat the primary consumers. So all of these ones are eating the primary consumers. We're going to say these are secondary consumers. I'm going to color mine in purple. Okay, so that's, what is it? 7, 8, and 9. So I'm going to color in 7, 8, and 9 over here, purple. All right. And those are my secondary consumers. I'm going to label them. Shorthand for secondary is 2 with the degree sign. Secondary consumer. Consumers are right here. And then finally, we have our primary consumers here at the top. Okay. All right. So I'm going to color those in with my little red violet crayon here. And now I've got all my trophic levels kind of separated out, and I can see what they are. Okay, so I see my primary consumers are eating my secondary consumers, right? Secondary consumers are eating these are my tertiary consumers. I think I said that wrong. Tertiary consumers are eating the secondary consumers. Secondary consumers are eating the primary consumers, and primary consumers are eating the plants, the producers. Okay, so now that I kind of have that sorted out by trophic level, I'm going to try and figure out what they're saying over here. So calculate the proportion. Let me look on the other page and see if I can see what they're looking for. Okay, so they want me to say the total number of organisms in the trophic level, the total biomass in the trophic level, and then the proportion, the biomass proportion. I'm going to label this different because I know what they're looking for, even though they're not super clear about it. So this is the biomass proportion, and we'll talk more about that in a second here. Okay. All right. So now we have to do some addition. Okay. So if we're looking at our thing, they're asking for the total number of individuals on that chart on the other side in the producers category. So we have to add all these numbers together, and then they wanted the total biomass for the trophic level of producers. So we have to add all those numbers together. Okay, so luckily for us, I've done all of the adding already on this other piece of paper, and so I'm going to substitute it in right now. And then I'm going to show you. Okay, so I added all these three numbers together. I got 4,877. Added these three numbers together, got 211,690. Added all these together and got 897. All these together and got 22,730. Okay, and so on and so forth. So for each trophic level, you're going to add the numbers together. Okay, so the biomass numbers all together, right? And the number of individuals numbers all together. Okay. All right, so you're going to go ahead and do that. And I'm going to go back to my unfilled out table right now and show you how to do the biomass proportion. Okay. And then I'll give an example on the pyramid, and then I'll let you guys go do your thing. All right, so back over here, if we're looking at this table, first thing you're gonna do is fill in all of the numbers here that you get from the other side, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and fill in the total for you. So the total number of organisms altogether, you should get 6,078. And the total biomass altogether of all the trophic levels added should be 236,893. Okay. And then I'm going to put an example of the producers. So for the producers, there was a total of 4,877 individual producers. How did I get that? I got that right by adding up the populations of all the producers, and I got 4,877. Then I added up all of the biomass for all the producers, and I got 211,690. Now I'm going to find this biomass proportion. The biomass proportion is going to be equal to the biomass. See if you can see that. Biomass at the trophic level. Okay, so this biomass of the trophic level, we're going to divide that by the total biomass to basically get what is the percentage of biomass that trophic level has for the whole ecosystem, right? So we divide the biomass at the level by the total biomass, and then you're going to take that number, multiply it by 100 to get the biomass proportion or percentage. It's going to be a percent, right? So if we do an example of that, we're going to take 2,011,690, the biomass from this trophic level. We're going to divide that by our total biomass, 236,893, multiply that result by 100, and that's going to give us 89.36%. So almost 90% of the biomass in this entire ecosystem is from the producers. Okay. All right. So you're going to go ahead and complete those calculations for all of the other trophic levels. And then once you're done with that, you're going to come and you're going to fill in this biomass pyramid. So this is a biomass pyramid because we are not looking at the energy, we're looking at the biomass, right? Once you get all of this all of the different trophic levels calculated out, you'll definitely see that the producers have the highest biomass. We can, it's almost 90% of the ecosystem. So they're going to be at the bottom level. Okay. So down here, we're going to put our producers. Okay. And we need to put the percent of their biomass that makes up the ecosystem, right? So their biomass proportion is 89.36%. So we're going to put that in our pyramid little spot, okay? And then we also need to put which numbers of what was the organism numbers, which organisms were in this, right? So we're going to go back over here. We had organism 1, 2, and 3. And so we're going to put organism 1, 2, and 3 here. And the biomass is 89.36% of the total. Okay, so after you've done all this math over here, you're going to, and you've figured out the proportions, then you're going to, the trophic level that has the next highest percentage of biomass for the ecosystem, of the total ecosystem, you're going to put here, and so on and so forth. So from the largest percent of the total to the smallest percent of the total in your biomass pyramid. Okay, hopefully this helps you work through this and understand it, and it is timely. Okay, and then you're going to go answer the questions and work together. If you get stuck and have a question, you can send me a message on Remind. All right, good luck. Bye.